You ever see that? He sips it like this. He barely drank it.
There you go. Generally, I have not been doing stunts here, but,
Watch this. What was that?
It just confirms Flint water is drinkable.
Get him gallons of that and then monitor his diarrhea.
There is a huge scandal here. It is a very real scandal, and it's actually truly shocking. Barack Obama orchestrated it all. The only justification they had for that was the discredited Steele dossier, which they knew was, but proceeded with anyway. And 3 other sources, which, if it's possible, were even less supported than the Steele dossier. And the latest document dump shows that multiple CIA agents went to John Brennan to say, you can't put that in there. You cannot say that Putin interfered to help Trump. We don't have that. And you cannot rely on the Steele dossier. That thing's totally not credible. And Brennan looked at him and said, one of them, and said, but it has the...
Barack Obama thought he was retired until Joe Rogan and Megyn Kelly arrived like intellectual bounty hunters armed with flamethrowers and fact grenades. This wasn't just commentary. It was a surgical roast with napalm. Policies. Torched. Speeches. Turned into confetti. Legacy. Hanging by a thread. Begging for PR life support. Yes, we can now sounds more like maybe you shouldn't have. This takedown wasn't political, it was theatrical, like watching the Statue of Liberty get punked on live TV. If charm were armor, Rogan and Kelly came in with armor-piercing sarcasm.
Remember when they gave that speech, when he gave a speech on television, and everybody was like, yes. Mm-hmm. And then they were, it kind of just went away.
It was one of the most beautiful moments in modern American history. People really actually stood up and stopped a war from happening.
Today, I authorize the Armed Forces of the United States to begin a limited military action in Libya in support of an international...
Obama's intel community was about to give Obama a presidential daily brief that totally dismissed, downplayed, poo-pooed, choose your word, the notion that Russia had meaningfully interfered in the 2016 presidential election. That's true. And by the way, Matt has gone well beyond the language that just speaks to manipulation of election infrastructure and pointed out that if you look at what the intel community had been saying, it went well beyond dismissing they're not attacking our election infrastructure. They had doubts up and down the board about whether Russia had done anything more in 16 than it had ever done, which was just kind of attempts to be a menace and sow a little bit of...
The moment Barack Obama's name came up, Joe Rogan's eyebrow tried to file for asylum. His entire body language screamed, not this polished teleprompter poet again. The man who could make toothpaste sound like foreign policy and drop drones like mixtapes. It was like watching a motivational speaker with a missile silo. Rogan's face twisted like he'd just read a BuzzFeed article claiming Obama invented empathy and jazz. TED Talk energy with Terminator side effects.
The truth is, if you add it all up, even the year, if the odds were you're going to be married to your partner for 50 years and 10 of those years could be bad, you'd
sign up for it.
You'd sign up for it.
You'd sign up for it.
Right. And that's really how it works out.
Is it, Michelle? It's not. I've been married for 17 and a half years and not one was bad. I think she and he married the wrong.
Imagine someone photoshopped Gandhi's face onto a drone controller. Welcome to the Obama mythology. Megyn Kelly wasn't buying the Pinterest board version of him that still floods Instagram with pastel quotes and airbrushed hope. Obama was sold as a sage, but governed like a software update with surveillance features. If he said it, it must be wise, said no Yemeni village ever. Kelly went full Mythbusters on the cult of personality and brought receipts soaked in irony.
It's fun because things are actually happening. Very different than most of the time when people get elected.
And I will shut down the federal Department of Education and we will move everything back to the state.
Most of the time when people get elected, they claim all these things when they're running for president. Then they get into office and not much changes.
Individualize education and do it with the love for their children.
And in fact, a lot of what they campaigned on, they don't practice at all. all. Great example is the Obama administration. The Hope and Change website had to be changed because there was a bunch of stuff in there about whistleblowers.
No, I don't think Mr. Snowden was a patriot. I called for a thorough review of our surveillance operations before Mr. Snowden made these leaks. My preference would have been for a lawful, orderly examination of these laws.
Protecting whistleblowers, which they didn't do at all. There was one of the worst administrations for whistleblowers.
Joe Rogan couldn't get over the contradiction. Obama the motivational speaker by day, covert operator by night. He'd drop a line about unity, then ghost entire communities. A TED Talk tone with Lockheed Martin outcomes. Rogan compared him to a walking contradiction. Gandhi on stage, Caesar backstage. The man could speak in calm prose while the Pentagon quietly added another zero to the budget. It was the Ivy League Jedi mind trick on loop.
See the post he put out to celebrate her birthday?
Yeah.
Was it her birthday or their anniversary?
He did.
He chose the least attractive photo of her that's ever been released. I mean, this is just wrong. Michelle Obama can look very nice in a photograph. This ain't it. She's got the kerchief on her head. They're about 20 feet apart in this intimate dinner. And he looks great. This is classic, right? Like, he's like, this is a great picture. He's got the 1,000-watt smile. And she looks...
Megyn Kelly sipped sarcasm like it was espresso brewed with taxpayer regrets. The media still acted like Obama sneezed historical wisdom. The Nobel Peace Prize. Given quicker than a free trial activation. Based on vibes, not verified results. Joe almost choked at the irony. A peace prize for a man who updated drone software like it was an iOS patch. Obama made charisma a currency, and America went bankrupt trying to spend it. The Holy Trinity. Suit, smirk, teleprompter.
Obama was my favorite president. He's the best spokesman other than Clinton of all time. Now I think he's a liar. Yeah. I look at that thing of him saying,
who said that there were very fine people on both sides of a white supremacist rally.
That's not what he said. He said,
and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
And you guys are still doing goofy shit, like taking people out of context and not knowing that people are going to make YouTube clips showing what he actually said versus you. And it's going to undermine your...
And then came Obamacare, the bureaucratic jigsaw puzzle that solved everything by confusing everyone. Joe Rogan called it user-friendly like a Rubik's Cube on fire. The rollout site looked like it was coded by raccoons using telegraphs. Megyn mocked the tech image Obama carefully curated, as the system crashed harder than the housing market under his own watch. But hey, he did it with style. Meanwhile, his foreign policy sounded like poetry, until you saw the casualty count. Joe compared it to ordering a latte and getting a Molotov cocktail.
Obama. He decided to drop a post on X today, and I thought, okay, maybe in the wake of the Pete Hegseth presser, he's going to say something like, no matter how you feel about the Iranian strike, hats off to our, boys in blue, our guys in the bombers. He went a different way. This is what it was.
Curious how you're thinking about this eulogy specifically in the moment and all the tensions that you just brought out.
Scandals were rebranded as teachable moments. Megyn joked that if Obama set a trash can on fire, CNN would call it a climate change awareness campaign. Fast and Furious wasn't a movie. It was a real-life gun-running script that even Hollywood rejected for being too insane. Benghazi. A PR war zone. The image management was next level. Tan suits, curated photo ops, and slow-motion walks like he was auditioning for GQ, Commander-in-Chief edition. Rogan pointed out that the unity speeches were often followed by policies that did the exact opposite. It was performative peace wrapped around strategic silence.
Obama did it, and it's disgusting. It's a disgusting lie. Let's play it.
Said that there were very fine people on both sides of a white supremacist rally.
You also had people that were very fine people on both sides. I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists. Okay?
See, that's crazy. I have never seen that last part of it
because the news has said that lie over and over and over and over.
Economically, Obama was treated like Warren Buffett's cooler cousin, but Megyn exposed the reality. Growth slower than a buffering YouTube ad. Wages were flatter than Joe's coffee. Student debt exploding like it was on a Red Bull 4 drip. The Iran deal. A nuclear pinky promise. Joe called it the equivalent of giving a toddler a blowtorch and saying don't touch anything. Megyn nearly applauded the spectacle. Obama walked through his presidency like a tech bro who invented nothing, took all the credit, and exited with stock options and a book deal.
Speaking of Barack Obama, he decided to drop a post on X today, and I thought, okay, maybe in the wake of the Pete Hegseth presser, he's going to say something like, no matter how you feel about the Iranian strike, hats off to our, boys in blue.
This moment. Go back to that day 10 years ago. What I think binds it together, all these different strands, case upholding healthcare, a case declaring same-sex marriage part of our constitutional protections, of mourning. I think what pulls it all together is that no one person did any of that.
So he's sitting around on a June Thursday thinking about himself and his glory days. And to your point, Smug, I'm starting to warm up to Michelle Obama's POV. I mean,
Joe cracked up at Obama's I'm one of you diner stops, like watching an alien try to eat a cheeseburger for the first time. Beer summits were PR rituals, not real conversations. Michelle was deployed as a shield against criticism, like Captain America with kale smoothies. And those documentaries. Less content, more revisionist history. It was legacy laundering with a soulful score. Rogan noted it felt less like storytelling and more like deflection disguised as nostalgia. Hey, remember Hope and Change? Yeah, we remember being billed twice for it.
This is the accusation. They're throwing around the word treason.
I hate to say this, but President Barack Obama, there is now incontrovertible evidence that he was the spearhead of a seditious conspiracy to subvert the will of the American people and overthrow the United States government back in 2016.
They're saying that Obama knew that Russia did not meddle in the election, did not have any impact in the election.
For 5 years.
And then there's been some incredible clips of all these different news reporters, CNN and MSNBC, just saying over and over and over again, clear evidence of.
Joe roasted the book deals like they were written by ChatGPT and edited by a therapist. Every chapter read like an Oscar acceptance speech for an award he gave himself. Megyn noted the hypocrisy of lecturing on income inequality from inside a multimillion-dollar estate. Rogan howled at the audacity. This was performance activism with concierge service. Behind the cool speeches were a decade of detachment, missed opportunities, and conveniently timed Spotify playlists. He didn't leave office, he rebranded.
More fuel on the fire that there's a potential, maybe a divorce or some sort of rockiness going on in the Obamas relationship. They both posted these mirrored, very choreographed Valentine's Day messages on X, but he was just seen at an LA, the basketball team, the Clippers, thank you, game without her. And then, on Tuesday, he was spotted eating out at a fancy dinner in Sherman Oaks with his both daughters, Malia and Sasha. But
Megyn mocked how every Democrat still tries to bottle Obama's essence like a political cologne. Just one spritz of Barack, and suddenly bad policy smells inspirational. Joe called it the biggest marketing campaign since New Coke. The man who ran on transparency governed like he was guarding the nuclear codes to his approval rating. Flaws were hidden, narratives manicured, and criticism deflected like rain off a limo. Megyn summed it up. Obama was a TED Talk that became president, but forgot to bring the footnotes.
There is what Obama said on the same video. There is what Trump actually said. It's disgusting. It's a disgusting lie. And he's talking about George Washington. He said George Washington had slaves. Let's play it.
On both sides of a white supremacist rally.
You had some very bad people in that group. But you also had people that were very fine people on both sides. You had people in that group that were there to protest the taking down a very, very important statue from Robert E. Lee to another name. Was George Washington a slave owner? So will George Washington now lose his status? Excuse me. How about Thomas Jefferson? Are we going to take down the statue? Because he was a major slave owner. And I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis Nazis and white nationalists.
The news has said that lie over and over and over and over and over again. The mainstream corporate-controlled news that wanted this narrative said that over and over and over again. They repeat.
And finally, Joe just shook his head, like he'd just watched a squirrel steal a Tesla. Behind the rehearsed speeches, the designer suits, the word salads, and the well-lit podcasts, was a man who convinced an entire nation that charm was a substitute for consequence. Twice. Joe called it the ultimate political Costco deal, charisma in bulk, results sold separately. Megyn closed it with a smirk. Obama wasn't a revolution. He was the trailer for a movie that never got made.